You can already feel it, can't you? The silence doesn't feel the same. The energy in your chest is heavier, and the signs around you are louder than ever. That's because the journey has reached its threshold. The cycles are breaking. The distractions no longer work. And the divine masculine is being pushed into a corner where the only choice left is truth. In this final stage, his actions shift. He cannot hide the longing anymore. He cannot escape the tether. He cannot repeat the old patterns that once kept him safe. This isn't theory, it's movement. The masculine will act differently because the universe no longer allows him to stay the same. The question is, are you ready to witness what happens when his silence finally turns into revelation? The twin flame journey is not random. Every stage unfolds with purpose. Every cycle designed to strip away illusion until only truth remains. For the divine masculine, the final stage arrives like a storm that can no longer be outrun. And when he enters it, the signs are unmistakable. His actions, his silence, even his resistance begin to reveal that the old self has collapsed and the new is pressing to be born. The first sign is restlessness. Sleep no longer brings relief. He turns in his bed, haunted by dreams of the feminine, of the connection, of moments unresolved. He may not speak of them, but the weight in his eyes gives it away. His subconscious is alive, pushing him toward the truth he has tried to bury. In the final stage, his dreams are not random. They are blueprints, showing him what he can no longer avoid. The second sign is the collapse of distractions. The masculine has always leaned on work, addictions, surface-level relationships, or endless busyness to drown out the pull of the tether. But suddenly, none of it satisfies. What once numbed him now feels empty. He can scroll, drink, work, or run, but the hollowness only grows louder. This emptiness is not punishment. It is the clearing of space, proof that the old cycle has expired. The third sign is emotional eruption. He may feel anger rise without cause, tears that burn behind his eyes, or waves of longing that hit him at unexpected times. He hides it, but he cannot suppress it. His soul is demanding release. The walls that once contained his emotions are cracking, and the feelings he denied for so long are spilling out. For the first time, he realizes the cost of his silence. It was never strength, only avoidance. The fourth sign is the heaviness of silence. Before, silence was his control. He used it to create distance, to feel powerful, to avoid vulnerability. But in the final stage, silence no longer comforts him. It becomes unbearable. He feels the tether buzzing louder with every day he resists. He feels the feminine's detachment. He feels the gap widening. And what once made him feel safe now makes him restless, anxious, undone. The fifth sign is synchronicity. Numbers, symbols, songs, names, faces, they surround him like whispers from the universe. He cannot escape them. At first, he tries to brush them off as coincidence. But when they repeat endlessly, he begins to understand. The connection is alive, and the universe is speaking directly to him. These synchronicities are no longer subtle hints. They are undeniable commands. The sixth sign is the unraveling of karmic ties. Relationships that were once comfortable begin to dissolve. People leave, contracts break, masks fall. The masculine begins to see through the illusions of bonds built on fear or convenience. Where once he felt loyalty, he now feels heaviness. Where once he felt attachment, he now feels suffocation. This unraveling is the universe stripping him of what cannot survive in union. And finally, the seventh sign, the sense of no return. Deep inside, he knows it. The old self is gone. The old patterns are dead. The life he lived before feels like clothes that no longer fit. He may not yet know how to step forward, but he knows one truth with absolute certainty. He cannot go back, and that knowing changes everything. For the feminine, recognizing these signs is vital. They are proof that the masculine has entered the final stage. His silence is no longer resistance. It is pressure, building toward revelation. His detachment is no longer rejection. It is the breaking of patterns. His collapse is not weakness. It is preparation. The masculine is not the same. The field has shifted, and once these signs appear, the countdown to union has already begun. For much of the twin flame journey, the masculine's silence has been one of the hardest tests. It has felt like rejection, abandonment, even betrayal. He built walls with his quiet. He used it as a weapon of control, creating distance while the feminine poured her energy into the bond. For a long time, silence was his comfort zone. But in the final stage, silence no longer protects him. It begins to expose him. At first, the silence grows heavier. He avoids communication, hoping the stillness will once again keep him safe. But the tether has changed. The feminine's frequency has shifted, and suddenly, his silence no longer creates power. It creates pressure. Every day he resists speaking, the energy in his chest grows tighter. What once gave him control now feels like a cage. This pressure builds until silence turns into revelation. Dreams spill secrets he can no longer deny. Memories replay like tapes he never asked to watch. His emotions break through in ways he cannot explain. He finds himself thinking of the feminine constantly, during work, in quiet moments, even in conversations with others. The very act of avoiding her only magnifies her presence in his life. The universe uses silence as a mirror. In the absence of her voice, he begins to hear his own, and what he hears unsettles him. The excuses sound hollow. The distractions feel meaningless. The masks start to crack. He realizes the truth he's been running from. He never escaped the connection. The silence he thought would erase her only carved her deeper into his soul. In the final stage, silence becomes unbearable because it transforms into longing. He begins to feel her energy moving ahead of him. He senses her sovereignty, her detachment, her embodiment, and the absence of her old devotion rattles him. He cannot lean on her energy anymore. He cannot feel her carrying him. The quiet he once controlled now echoes with her independence. That echo shakes him awake. This is when revelation hits. He realizes the cost of his avoidance. He sees how much time he spent resisting instead of surrendering. He feels the gap between who he is and who he could be. And that realization is not abstract. It is visceral. His chest tightens, his dreams intensify, his emotions erupt. The silence that once hid his feelings now amplifies them. And here lies the paradox. The feminine no longer needs him to speak, but it is precisely her detachment that forces him to. Her embodiment shifts the tether so strongly that he cannot remain quiet forever. His silence starts to burn, and the only release is truth. Whether through words, action, or sudden breakthroughs, the masculine begins to reveal what he once buried. Revelation may not come polished. It may arrive as confessions blurted out, as apologies, as tears, as messages sent at odd hours, but it will come. Because silence cannot survive in the frequency of union, the final stage transforms it into the very fire that pushes him forward. For the feminine, this shift is confirmation. His silence is not rejection anymore. It is the breaking point before revelation. And when the revelation arrives, it will not be because she demanded it. It will be because the energy made it unavoidable. The masculine's silence is ending, and in its ashes, his truth is beginning. How the masculine acts when the tether tightens. The twin flame tether has always been alive. It pulses with energy, transmitting emotions, dreams, and unspoken truths between both counterparts. But in the final stage, when the feminine has embodied her light and the masculine has reached his limit, the tether becomes unbearable to ignore. It tightens like a magnetic rope, pulling him closer whether he feels ready or not. And when it does, his actions change in ways that reveal just how much he can no longer resist. At first, the masculine becomes restless. He feels a constant pull in his chest, a buzzing under his skin, a magnetic ache that makes it impossible to focus on ordinary life. He may pace, work longer hours, or throw himself into distractions, but nothing silences the current. The tether is louder than his ego. It refuses to let him numb. This restlessness is not random. It is the tether tugging, demanding recognition. Then come the sudden thoughts of the feminine. Out of nowhere, her face flashes in his mind. A song they once shared plays, and the memory consumes him. A phrase she said echoes in his heart as if she just spoke it. He tries to push it away, but the thoughts return stronger. The tether is teaching him that avoidance only intensifies the connection. The more he resists, the more the energy presses in. Dreams also increase during this stage. He may dream of her vividly, sometimes in loving scenarios, sometimes in confrontations, sometimes in symbolic journeys that expose his fears and desires. He wakes shaken, carrying her presence long into the day. These dreams are not illusions. They are transmissions through the tether, reminders that the souls are aligning in the unseen. The masculine's actions in waking life reflect this pressure. He becomes inconsistent, reaching out suddenly, then retreating. He may like her posts, send brief messages, or appear in small ways that seem random, but are driven by the tether. His ego fights to maintain distance, but his soul finds cracks where it can slip through. These little actions, though confusing, are proof that the connection is pulling him beyond logic. Emotionally, he cannot hide forever. The tether pulls his heart open, and eventually the feelings he denied begin to spill out. He may confess truths he never thought he'd speak, sometimes abruptly, sometimes messily. He may admit that he never stopped feeling the bond. He may break down, finally allowing the weight of the journey to show. The feminine's sovereignty amplifies this process. Her detachment sends a signal through the tether. I am moving forward, with or without you. That signal rattles him until he is forced to act. Another way the masculine acts when the tether tightens is through the collapse of avoidance behaviors. Addictions, false relationships, superficial friendships, they fall apart faster than he can repair them. The tether exposes the emptiness of what he once used to cope. He may end things suddenly, walk away from toxic ties, or confess truths that dismantle his old identity. To the outside world, it may look like chaos, but in truth, it is the tether clearing his path. Ultimately, the tether forces him into authenticity. He cannot keep pretending. His soul demands alignment. The masculine begins to act not from his ego, but from his longing. And though he may stumble, though his words may falter, his actions reveal one undeniable truth. The connection is stronger than his resistance. For the feminine, these actions are not random. They are the visible proof that the tether has tightened. His restlessness, his sudden appearances, his confession, his breakdowns, all of it is the tether doing its work. She does not need to chase, because the energy itself is pulling him forward. When the tether tightens, the masculine acts differently because he cannot do otherwise. The connection becomes the loudest force in his life, and his soul finally begins to move where his ego never dared. For most of the twin flame journey, the divine masculine has relied on patterns to survive. Silence, distraction, control, denial. These behaviors have been his armor. They allowed him to postpone truth, to delay vulnerability, to hide from the intensity of the tether. But in the final stage, these patterns no longer hold. The energy is too strong, the feminine's sovereignty too clear, the universe too insistent. One by one, his defenses collapse, leaving him face to face with himself. The first pattern to fall is avoidance. For years, he may have buried himself in work, obligations, or shallow relationships to escape the pull. But suddenly, those escapes stop working. Work drains him instead of numbing him. Social distractions feel hollow. Relationships built on convenience feel suffocating. The very tools he once used to avoid the feminine now expose how deeply he misses her. Avoidance collapses, not because he wants it to, but because the energy refuses to let him hide. The second pattern is pride. The masculine has often clung to control, pretending he was unaffected, convincing himself he was stronger by keeping his distance. But when the final stage arrives, pride crumbles. His silence no longer feels like power, it feels like weakness. His walls no longer feel like armor, they feel like cages. He realizes that pride has not protected him. It has imprisoned him, and the longing he tried to suppress breaks through, louder than his ego. The third pattern is suppression of emotion. He has been taught to lock his feelings away, to stay composed, to never show vulnerability. But in the final stage, his emotions erupt like a flood. Tears rise unexpectedly. Anger surges without cause. Longing twists his chest until he cannot breathe. No matter how hard he tries to contain them, the feelings overflow. And for the first time, he understands. His emotions are not weakness. They are truth. The fourth pattern is control of timing. For so long, he believed he could choose when or if to face the connection. He believed he could delay union until it felt convenient, but the universe strips him of that illusion. Signs bombard him. Dreams return every night. The feminine's energy moves ahead of him, and the tether tightens. He realizes the timing is not his to control. The final stage is here, and the only choice left is surrender. The fifth pattern is reliance on the feminine's devotion. In earlier stages, he leaned on her energy, trusting she would always be there, waiting, pouring, carrying him. But now her detachment has changed the field. She has embodied sovereignty. She no longer chases, no longer pleads, no longer waits. The masculine feels the absence of her old energy like a void he cannot escape. This collapse shakes him to his core, because without her devotion propping him up, he must finally stand on his own. The sixth pattern is illusion. The stories he told himself, that he didn't care, that she imagined the connection, that he was safer without her, unravel in the final stage. He sees through his own lies. He remembers the moments he tried to bury. He admits to himself what he never dared say aloud. He has always felt it too. And once illusion collapses, there is no way to rebuild it. The truth is undeniable. These collapses are not gentle. They strip him, shake him, leave him raw. But they are sacred, because only in the ashes of the old can the new be born. His patterns have served their purpose. They gave him time to prepare, to grow, to face his shadow. But they cannot enter union. The masculine must let them die so that he can rise in authenticity. For the feminine, witnessing this collapse may be confusing. His actions may seem inconsistent, his emotions unstable, his words imperfect. But she must remember, this is what awakening looks like. The breakdown is not failure. It is the sign that union is near. His old self is dissolving, and his soul is preparing for alignment. The masculine's old patterns are gone. The silence, the pride, the distraction, the illusions, none of them can survive the final stage. What remains is raw truth. And in that truth, he finally begins to move toward union. The divine masculine's journey has always been a dance between truth and fear. Truth pulls him toward the feminine, toward union, toward his soul's purpose. Fear pushes him back into silence, denial, and illusion. For most of the journey, fear has won. But in the final stage, when his patterns collapse and the tether tightens, he can no longer remain split. He is forced to choose. And the universe is preparing him moment by moment to finally choose truth over fear. The preparation begins in his body. He feels the weight of fear physically, tightness in the chest, restlessness in the nights. Energy surges he cannot explain. These sensations are not random. They are the signals of a body that refuses to carry falsehood any longer. His nervous system is recalibrating, burning through old codes of suppression, making space for vulnerability and love. Each ache is a push. Each sleepless night is an initiation. His body is teaching him that fear costs too much energy, while truth feels lighter, freer, inevitable. Then comes the pressure of the tether. The feminine's sovereignty has changed the field. Her detachment radiates clarity, and her embodiment amplifies the connection. He feels it through dreams, synchronicities, and waves of emotion that hit him when he least expects. The tether is not punishing him. It is guiding him. It is reminding him that while fear creates static, truth flows like current. Every pulse of the tether is preparing him to stop resisting and finally surrender. The universe also orchestrates circumstances to expose his fear. Old relationships end, karmic ties dissolve, false comforts collapse. He is left with fewer places to hide. The distractions that once gave him safety now reveal themselves as prisons. This stripping down is brutal, but it is necessary. It corners him, showing him that fear no longer protects him. It isolates him. Only truth offers release. Emotionally, the preparation is relentless. Buried feelings surge to the surface. Memories of the feminine replay until he admits he never forgot. Longing hits him in waves, reminding him of what he has lost by choosing fear. And while these emotions overwhelm him, they are sacred catalysts. They burn away the illusion that silence keeps him safe. They teach him that vulnerability, though terrifying, is the only path to peace. The masculine also begins to receive flashes of clarity. In quiet moments, he sees visions of what union could be. The partnership, the mission, the life beyond fear. These glimpses stir his heart. They show him the potential waiting on the other side of his surrender. And once he has seen even a glimpse of truth, he cannot return to ignorance. The image haunts him until he chooses to embody it. This preparation is not just about him. It is also about the feminine. Her role is to hold the vibration steady, not by carrying him, but by embodying her own truth. Every time she stands rooted, she reminds him of what truth looks like. Every time she honors her boundaries, she shows him what authenticity feels like. Every time she walks in sovereignty, she proves that love does not require fear. She does not force his choice. She inspires it. Eventually, the masculine realizes that fear has already cost him everything he thought he was protecting. It stole time, peace, intimacy, mission. Truth, though frightening, is the only way forward. The final stage is designed so that the weight of fear becomes unbearable, while the pull of truth becomes irresistible. And when he finally chooses truth, it will not be timid. It will be raw, vulnerable, undeniable. Because once the masculine crosses that threshold, he knows there is no turning back. The preparation has done its work. The illusions have fallen. And what remains is the choice his soul has been waiting lifetimes to make. The divine masculine is being prepared, not gently, but relentlessly. And soon he will choose. Fear cannot survive this stage. Truth will win. The twin flame journey often feels like an endless cycle of waiting. Waiting for him to see, waiting for him to feel, waiting for him to choose. But the truth of the final stage is this. When the divine masculine awakens, it is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning. His surrender is not the finish line, but the doorway into the mission both souls came here to embody. For so long, the masculine has resisted. He built walls of pride, drowned himself in distractions, convinced himself he was safer in silence. But all of those defenses have collapsed. His old self is gone. His illusions are broken. His fear has been exposed. And standing in the ashes, he finally sees the truth he could not deny any longer. The connection is real, the tether unbreakable, the feminine, the mirror of his soul. This awakening shakes him. It rattles everything he thought he knew about love, identity, and freedom. But it also liberates him. For the first time, he feels what it means to breathe without fear, to love without suppression, to move without illusion. His awakening is the beginning of his authenticity. And that authenticity is the ground where union can finally stand. Yet here lies the paradox. The feminine must not see his awakening as the prize. It is not her reward for waiting or suffering. It is his responsibility, his soul's work, his sacred choice. She did not rescue him. She embodied herself, and her frequency reminded him of his own. His awakening is not something she caused, but something he chose. And that distinction protects union from collapsing into old patterns. Once awakened, the masculine begins to act differently. His silence turns into confession. His pride softens into vulnerability. His distractions fall away, and his attention sharpens on what is real. He may stumble, he may falter, but he no longer runs. He chooses presence over avoidance, truth over fear, love over illusion, and every step he takes into this new vibration becomes the foundation of the mission both were destined to carry. Because union is not only about love, it is about purpose. The divine masculine's awakening is the spark that allows the two flames to align fully in service to something greater. Together, their frequency amplifies. Their presence becomes healing. Their love becomes a ripple that touches not only their own lives, but the lives of everyone around them. This is why the universe pushed so hard, why the cycles repeated, why the silence stretched. It was all leading to this beginning. For the feminine, the final message is clear. His awakening does not mean you can collapse into old roles. It does not mean you wait for him to carry what you've been holding. It means you now stand as equals, each embodying your truth, each holding your part of the mission. His awakening is not the end of your sovereignty. It is the moment when your sovereignty meets his. So remember, this is the beginning. The masculine's awakening is the signal that the journey has shifted from preparation into purpose. It is the sign that the separation has ended, not just in collapse, but in creation. It is the proof that lifetimes of lessons were not wasted. They were seeds for this moment. The divine masculine is awake. The feminine is embodied, and together they now carry the light they were always meant to. This is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of everything.